Well, welcome back to the winter podcast for winter of 2023-2024. This is four? Episode 4. We're a day late. But regardless, we're going to talk about today, we had record warmth last week. And then we're also going to talk about the fact that it'll get colder, especially in the Northeast, but that isn't necessarily going to translate to snow. And then 3, how it most likely is going to be fairly mild for this time of year in the midsection of the country, and it doesn't look like that's going to change very much until maybe later in the month of February. So that's what we're going to discuss today, and let's get right into it. Okay, so first and foremost, let's go through some of the models. This is the GFS 6Z model run. Now, first and foremost, you see all this relatively mild air out to the west. This is your current conditions map. This little rainstorm we got yesterday that went through is that thing pulling off the coast of New England. And it's pulling through, and it's bringing some seasonable. I don't even want to say cold. It's seasonably cold right now in the areas of the Northeast. It's not bitterly cold like we had a couple weeks ago. Now, last week, areas like Washington, D.C., Dulles Airport, Baltimore hit about 80 degrees. These were record highs. And that's really warm for any time of year. Here, when you look at the pattern that we're in now, let's there we go. Here are the projected temperatures. Everybody, for the most part, is above freezing. You're talking about areas in the north and areas up there in Minnesota that this time of year usually are below freezing. Not so much the case this time. Talking about close to 60 in Seattle. So we're going to move through the regular computer models, and we're going to let's just roll through this real quick, because there's not too much going to go on. This little clipper system that's going to come out from the north, from Canada. It's going to bring some rain and some snow to areas like Detroit and into areas of Michigan. And it's just going to just dive so far south. It's going to dive all the way through and into areas like North Carolina. And they'll get some showery conditions as you head on into Wednesday morning. And this will quickly move on out. And just keep digging. Look at how far south that thing digs. Now, you get a backdoor cold front that's going to come on through as you head as you head on into Thursday. Like to call this the Pacific Express, because usually if you start getting storms over here, right along the coast, it's really hard to get snowstorms in the east, unless you're like in the Midwest. But look at how far these temperatures come up and come in. We're going to go back and forth with this. This is early 12. This is 12Z, which 12Z runs around 10 o'clock. So 10 o'clock Eastern time here. It's warmer in the west. You can see all the cold air bottled up around the first in areas in southeast Canada. This is later on in the day. You're talking about temperatures well up into the mid 40s, near 50 around Chicago on the first. You had 70s in areas of Texas and the south, and the 50s in the mid-Atlantic. So just when you think about this, you think about 55 or 41 in areas over there in the west that's not warm. What I want to point out is the anomaly, which is this shows you how much above average or below average the temperatures are. And when you see all this red here and this pink, this is much, you're talking about 10 to 12 degrees above where it should be this time of year for the vast majority of the United States, as you head on into the 1st of February. But let's go on into continue to go through the model run as you see the backdoor cold front comes through, and it's going to get colder in the Northeast. Once again, a seasonably cold type of temperature as you head on into the early portions of February. And now look at this storm as it dives down to the south. This is something that bears watching. The European had this coming up, and because of this block that's up north, it's not going to just shoot right up into the Great Lakes. You're getting some snow in Colorado and colder airs coming in behind that into areas of the Pacific Northwest. But it kind of fizzles out. It gets suppressed down to the south. I always get amazed when you see these storms on these models get pushed this far south. This thing goes down here to around Georgia, it transfers to the coast and starts to redevelop. There's enough cold air in the Northeast for there to be some snow if this actually came up the coast. But look at where this model continues to take this storm. It just suppresses this thing way down south, and it becomes a fish storm. Warmer air still in the center portions of the country. It'll be warmer than average for the most part. Around seasonable for the Northeast, and the Pacific Northwest by this point will be getting cooler air with chances of some snow out in the west. When you look at the long range, and you can't really, anything over 240, take it as a grain of salt. It feels more like a zonal flow, and you really have a wash, rinse, repeat of the same cycle. You get some brutally cold air all the way around the 15th. I believe that this will be a really decent shot of cold air if it happens as depicted. But once again, here's why you don't count your chickens on this. You go back to a previous run. Let's do the same time. And just feels like a zonal flow. So for the short term, expect warmer than average temperatures as you head over through the next couple weeks, especially in the nation's midsection. Seasonably cold temperatures in the Northeast, and that little bit of warmth will press this way over to the Northeast eventually. It's just going to take a little bit more time. Will we see some 80s? I doubt it, but with how things go in the winter, that's just something that I can't say yes or no about. Now, something I wanted to do today is go over the temperatures, because I said that it will be unseasonably mild in the nation's midsection. Look at what the GFS is predicting. Now, some of these colder temps, like for example, when you look at right here at hour 108, this is early morning. This is overnight low temperatures type of thing. This is early in the morning. This is before the daytime heat sets in. Now, if you're in the northeastern Canada, look at negative 33, negative 30. Wow. But temperatures don't even get below freezing, really, in the mid-Atlantic and farther south. When you head on into later on into the 3rd, there's your reinforcing area of cold air that I said comes in from that backdoor cold front. So you'll have seasonably cold temperatures in the Northeast. But look at how warm it remains as you head to areas like Chicago or Minnesota. It will be colder. Get this, it will be colder in New York City on the 3rd than possibly in Minnesota. That doesn't happen that often. Boston will potentially be colder than Chicago and Minnesota and Green Bay as a high temperature on the 3rd. The cold air continues to dip further southward. You feel the brunt of the cold on Saturday night into Sunday. As you head on into Sunday afternoon, that warm air really pushes, or that milder than average air really pushes way up, and it's even in the areas of Canada by time this is all said and done, for high temperatures. So temperatures in the 40s, low 40s. You can make an argument that that's not really, really warm, but it's warmer than average. Those areas are usually in the 20s this time of year. Things don't really change. They actually warm up a little bit more. Some areas in the center portions of the country could be in the 50s. You get some cooler air that comes in with this little storm that I said on the 5th that dove all the way down to the south. It's going to try to dive in some cooler air in areas of the north. But once again, if I could just, when you look at the anomalies, this is going all the way back through the 1st. The warmest period will be the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and remember I said that we'll have more seasonable temperatures in the east. Look at just straight down the center of the country, some milder than average temperatures, and that's just what we're going to be dealing with over the next couple of weeks. So let's come back. So what we just went over was the next couple of weeks. We saw the long range models. As I said, we can't really take those and really decide what we're going to look at as pertains to those right now, because that's so long into the future. But for the short term, seasonable temperatures, if you're in the mid-Atlantic to the northeast, milder than average temperatures for the next week or so. Won't be warm, but it will be milder than it usually has been, than it typically is for this time of year in the nation's midsection. That'll progress further to the east. 1st through the 5th of February will be your mildest period your mildest period that you will get from the next couple of weeks. And of course, things can change. It's a lot going on. Things can change. But that's all I got for you today. We have the record warm temperatures last week in the mid-Atlantic. It will be milder than average in the center of the nation, and we'll have a couple backdoor cold fronts that'll come through around the 1st to the 5th to keep temperatures seasonable in the mid-Atlantic and northeast. But not any snow, no real snowstorms, so to speak of, in the next couple weeks. So for snow lovers, I'm sorry. You still have late February and March as opportunities for some pretty big snowstorms. So we'll see how the pattern shifts and changes or moves as you head off into the months of later on in the second half of February. Okay, so this is forecaster Dante Avery Brown Royal. I thank you for joining me this afternoon or this morning, and or whenever you choose to watch this. Thanks for being with me this afternoon and evening, and y'all have a wonderful week.